you've written books on hormonal development and the importance of optimizing hormonal health at different stages. So, what should parents be thinking about with their children, their adolescents and teenage children going through puberty to support their hormonal health and development?
Well, I have to add, well, obviously diet, of course, but I have to
Mm,
also have to add iodine because
mm,
thyroid hormone actually triggers adolescence in both males and females.
mm,
And we know that iodine levels have to be, you have to have iodine in order to make thyroid hormones, right? That's the raw
mm,
material for thyroid hormones. So since puberty is triggered by thyroid, I mean, TSH goes up, free T3 levels go, T3 levels go up, they go up because they're needed to grow tissue.
mm,
It's you need tissue growth, right? So in females, breasts get bigger, the uterus gets bigger, the ovaries get bigger. Female sexual characteristics are tissue growth.
mm,
Males too, but to somewhat lesser extent. So they need iodine. Pubertal children, teens need iodine, both male and female. I think females need it more because there's more tissue growth. So that's really important. So the diet, you have to have the fat in order to trigger the androgen hormones in order to make puberty happen. Starts with thyroid, goes to androgen hormones, which would then be obviously fat that we have to eat. And if you have enough of both, then things should be fine.
okay, great. And so, are things like iodized salt enough, or do you recommend people
No,
taking?
no, absolutely not. I recommend Lugol's iodine.
Okay.
That's the old, Jean Lugol's 15% solution, which is now called 5% in the US primarily because basically they're just counting the elemental iodine and not the potassium iodide that is in the solution. So it's actually 15% iodine,
Mm,
but it is now called 5%.
okay.
And that is an essential nutrient that unfortunately with fluoride and PFAs and all the substances that we have in
Mm,
the world today, which are all substances that interfere with the absorption of iodine.
mm,
So 100 years ago, goiter belts were Bolivia, Switzerland, Michigan, the Tennessee mountains where my family's from. Mountainous areas, the soil doesn't have iodine because it's washed down,
mm,
right? It's washed away in the soil. But nowadays, because there's so many substances that interfere with the absorption of iodine, it's much, there's a lot more iodine insufficiency. Two drops of, you know, 15/5%. In my menopause book, I wrote about clubbing and drinking and drug
mm,
taking. These are all things that raise cortisol levels. So if you don't, it ultra marathoning. I
mm,
mean, I'm an athlete and I used to run too much and I used to spar too much, and I definitely affected my adrenals. I think that that has to be considered. There's a lot, there are athletes, teenage athletes. They're pushing themselves. They're burning through nutrients so much faster than the people who aren't doing athletic pursuits.
mm,
If your child is athletic and if your child is on a team, you would definitely want to increase the protein, increase the fat, and increase the iodine because they're burning through those nutrients a lot faster than somebody who isn't training for track.
mm,
So those are things that we have to definitely consider, things that are raising cortisol levels. We know from a study that's from 2021, athletes who did really hard, high intensity training on a high fat diet, they recovered much more quickly than people on a carb diet. So things like that.
mm.
So the fat lowers the cortisol, which comes from training.